A very warm welcome back to your latest industry recap. Today there's coverage on Qantas and their Airbus A380, among other aircraft, as they expect to see record levels of demand. British Airways is returning to another airport in London after almost 4 years away. And finally, focus shifts to Iceland with Play Airlines. Beginning proceedings though with Qantas, which are preparing up to 13 additional aircraft to essentially act on standby, including another Airbus A380, as demand soars during the busy peak travel season. In a pretty detailed press release, the airline did go over and reveal some key plans as it gears up to meet demand, and in a way, prepare for any potential challenges that it may face, with a limit on the overall impact it would have on their consumers. The Qantas Group expects to carry over 8.5 million passengers across the Qantas and Jetstar brands from December 2023 to January 2024. Additionally, if you're after the exact specifics on the number of flights, well, they say nearly 70,000 flights will take place in these 2 months alone. Qantas goes on to note that this is a staggering increase of more than 500,000 people year over year, and is the most significant it has seen since the 2019-2020 peak travel season. These were ultimately, as we know, the final months before the emergence of the global pandemic, and what would result is demand dropping to essentially zero, especially in Australia with those harsh restrictions. December 15th, 2023 is expected to be the busiest day for flying, which depending on when you're watching could have been yesterday, today, or tomorrow, but for intensive purposes of when I'm publishing this video, it will be tomorrow, Australian time. The Qantas Group expects to carry 150,000 passengers across the network, as not only school holidays arrive and the festive break begins for them, but also people sign off work until the new year and begin travelling to see family, friends, or to venture on holiday. A total of 13 aircraft will be put on standby and essentially act as operational spares. Qantas believes that by adding these aircraft, which includes another A380, will provide them with a bit of a buffer. In the event of disruptions during the group's busiest period of the year, these standby aircraft would essentially enter service and cover for any lost capacity or cancellations. Additionally, there is a significant increase that's occurred in reserve staff. This would come into effect if operations were hampered, say, by employees taking sick leave, amongst maybe other concerns that their current workforce isn't enough to meet demand. Qantas actually says their workforce has increased tenfold over the past 12 months, with more than 3,300 new employees joining. Now, this ranges from pilots, cabin crew, airport customer service roles, among many other areas. But despite this increase in the last 12 months, it is hard not to look at this from a perspective of the mistreating of employees during the pandemic that actually left them in a position where they've had to scramble to either hire or rehire people. Many would say that they left themselves wildly understaffed, trying to cut costs, which was detrimental to their current employee base and their overall business. As part of the continued effort to meet demand more appropriately, the group also says it has brought forward critical maintenance of aircraft. In terms of international flights, while their operations are also growing, the Australian flag carrier said it proudly returned to New York via Auckland. The arrival of the A350-1000 should change this in the coming years, as the airline can serve the route from Sydney without a stopover. Additionally, they're really focusing on Japan, where services have more than doubled from Australian cities as the location becomes an increasingly more popular one. Over to the next story of today's recap. That sits with British Airways, that have announced its network will expand with the return of London Stansted flights. From the 18th of May 2024, British Airways will offer service to Florence, Ibiza, and Nice, acting as routes on BA City Flyers network specifically. British Airways have said its E190 planes will operate the routes in a return to the northeast London airport that has been missing the flag carrier for some time now. BA City Flyer is expected to complement the services that are offered from London City to nearly 30 destinations across the short-haul network. Additionally, it does mark the return I mentioned for the first time since the pandemic. Stansted will be the fourth London airport that will be served by the group, in a move that really highlights the demand for travel from the capital. and also not just being the fourth airport, but marking almost 4 years since the airline last flew through it. For the flights from London Stansted, the airline makes note that 2 possible cabin classes are available. This includes Club Europe and Euro Traveller. Examining the service a little bit further highlights that London Stansted will see BA 7016 and 7017 commencing on the 18th of May next year, only on Saturdays to Florence. Meanwhile, BA 2332 and 2333 will serve Nice, also only on Saturdays. And yes, a similar theme concludes with the final route that has been announced to Ibiza, operating as BA 7308 and 7309, also departing only on Saturdays. But the overall announcement was something that was pretty action-packed. Aside from its short-haul network, the airline also published some pretty significant news involving its international network, with the opening of a new lounge in Miami. Slated to open tentatively in the first half of 2025, the new lounge will have a brand new design concept arrive, giving customers a fresh feel. And the lounge at Miami International will join an existing 20-plus dedicated lounges located at airports right around the world. Onto the final story of the day. That sits with Play, that has reported its November 2023 results, which represent substantial rises in certain areas but other notable concerns. Play says that for the month it carried 107,000 passengers, representing also a 42% increase for the same period 1 year prior. As part of the success with demand, Play also saw a record sales day during the month. This occurred on the last week in November. The coverage is linked with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Travel Tuesday, which aided them. Despite solid passenger demand, the load factor was down to 74.5%. This represented a decrease from the 79% for the same period 1 year prior. However, they do note that the seismic activity in Reykjavik and more are why certain areas of the business were impacted. They expect to recover from this, but obviously say that it did impact them substantially. For 2023 thus far, 1.4 million passengers have been carried, with average load factors sitting around 84%, only been brought down due to the struggles that hurt the airline in the past month. On-time performance across the month hit 88.9%, which Play notes highlights its persistent attempts to offer a pretty robust service to its customers. That is going to conclude today's aviation news recap. If you have any thoughts on any of the topics covered, please do let me know down below in the comments. Your support is, as always, greatly appreciated. It is sweltering in my office currently, so I am going to switch back on the aircon and get to editing this video and publishing it as soon as possible for your faces. Thanks a lot, take care, be back tomorrow, same place, same time, for your latest industry developments.
And we'll fly.